This is Gunder Hägg, perhaps the best elite runner you probably never heard of, unless you're Swedish of course. But he broke the world record 10 times in 80 days, held world records at 7 different distances at the same time, and would most likely have run a sub 4-minute mile several years before Roger Banister did it if rigid rule followers hadn't had him suspended. In this video you will learn one of his things he did to become really strong and fast that you can easily implement in your own training without even having to change your pace, the distance, or perhaps even the route you run. Welcome to yet another video about running with me, Fredrik Zillén, your running technique specialist, who is as important to your running as spinach is to Popeye. Yes, I know. You want to know the secret and you want to know it now. But first, the story of Gunder Hägg. What a guy. Born on 31st December 1918 in the northern part of Sweden. He ran to and from school every day. And of course he ran home for lunchtime to eat and then back to school again. And started working in the forest during the winter, dragging timber through the really deep snow in his early teens. He had his heydays as a runner in the 1940s when much of the world were preoccupied with World War II. He broke world records 16 times between 1941 and 1945, 10 of them in a period of 80 days in 1942. In 1945, he ran the mile in 4:01.4, which stood as the world record for 9 years until Roger Banister became the first man to run the mile under 4 minutes in 1954. And he of course finished 3:59.4. In March 1946, Gunder Hägg held the world records for 1500 meters, 2000 meters, 3000 meters, 5000 meters, as well as for 1, 2 and 3 miles. He was only 27 years old and would certainly have continued to break world records for a while longer, and perhaps, I would say most likely, almost certainly, would have broken the 4-minute mile barrier before Banister if he had not been banned for life at the age of 27. And this was because he had been paid to run in competitions that attracted large audiences. At that time, it was absolutely forbidden to earn money from sports. You couldn't be a professional. A small portion of the ticket revenues banned for life. So what did Gunder Hägg do to become such a fantastic runner? Well, apart from having exceptional genes, training extremely hard and doing hard physical work from an early age, well, he wasn't afraid to make his training sessions harder than they needed to be. One of his favorite sessions was 3 kilometers, about 2 miles in deep snow, preferably up to his waist, which he ran with extra high knee lifts, followed immediately by 2 kilometers, that's 1.2, 1.3 miles, of fartlek on the road. Fartlek is a Swedish word that became popular among runners in the 1930s and can best be translated as speed play, where you mix faster and slower running as you like, depending on how your body feels, or natural variations such as hill, etc. But Gunder Hägg, he never called it fartlek. He didn't like the lek, that's the word play in it, because training really, really hard is no bloody playing around. His words, not mine. So was my message now that you should train as hard and as much as Gunder Hägg? No, but he chose to run in deep snow, even though he could have chosen to run on the road and run a lot faster. Yes, the pace wasn't that fast, but it was hard. And you can do it too, even though I realize that not many people that see this video have a forest and snow up to their waist outside their homes right now, or ever. But it works almost anywhere. Let me show you some examples. Here you can choose to run where it's easy to run or where it's much harder to run. Just running on grass, especially when it's wet after a lot of raining, like here, it's much harder than running on gravel or asphalt or wherever you do your running. And here is a picture that is a few years old. Here it's a several kilometer long footpath, at least 2 miles, which has been cleared of snow. And it's the obvious choice if you want to run intervals, for instance, at a set pace. But I can also run several kilometers, a couple of miles, in the snowdrift, which is what I did. You can even see my footprints there. Did I run fast? Did I maintain a pace that would impress my followers on Strava? Not at all. But what a great workout for running specific strength I got. All my muscles, especially my hip flexors, but also my core and everything, had to work so much harder than if I had chosen to run where it was easy. Not to mention the heart rate I managed to achieve without having to expose my body to any of the harsh vertical forces that high speed causes. You can run here instead of here. Here instead of here. If you want to be extreme, you can of course also run here instead of on the footpath where I was standing when I took this photo. Any unevenness in the ground also means that you have to work harder with all the stabilizing muscles, which of course also trains like your ankle strength. It's a bit like when I was in Kenya and met some elite runners where they trained. The ground there was often very uneven. Of course, it's not just Gunder Hägg who trains in places where it's extra tough. Here you can see the now retired cross-country skier Charlotte Kalla, who has 9 Olympic medals and 13 World Championship medals in her collection at home. She and many other cross-country skiers spend their summer walking or running in a swamp, a marsh, or whatever you call it, where they sink down quite a bit. It's fantastic training, even without the ski poles. So if you got a place like that close by, go there. Will it be so hard that you cry? Yes, probably. But as this runner said to me when I was in Kenya, well, if you want to be a runner, you can't be afraid of pain. So what are you waiting for? Go out and run, and choose to run off the trail, off the footpath, or whatever you can find to make the ground as bumpy and soft and hard and difficult to run on. Not every session maybe, but sometimes. Or every session for a limited period of time. For example, during a few weeks, during a build-up period where you still have a long way before the racing season starts. Then you maybe can have results like this.
I've knocked 30 seconds off my average pace to 4:30, and at 53, I'm absolutely astonished how relaxed I feel running.
No, actually, it wasn't running in swamps or in snow that led to that improvement, but taking my online course in efficient running technique. You can find more about it in the description below and of course at fredrikzillén.com. Have fun, and maybe I'll see you in another video.